I'm Jackson Faulkner, and you're watching the Rugby Report.
Hi, my name is Todd Denoyer, and I'm with Quick Cut. Quick Cut has decided to work with the Florida Rugby Union this year and stream all of the rugby games this year on YouTube. And in addition to streaming the games, we would like to create a show every week where we'd highlight some of the athletes, the coaches, explain the game of rugby, and for all those parents at home that can't get to the games, they can watch the show and then watch the stream as well. So we've tapped into one of our local resources here at the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, where I have with me the department chair of the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, Rishi Baran, who's going to talk a little bit about the students that are going to be creating the content and hosting the weekly show.
Hey Todd, how you doing? It's a pleasure to be with you. And yes, here at the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, what our main goal is to get our students some hands-on experience and get the real world feel. And that's what we've been doing in the 4+ years that we've been going on here in the Orlando area at Full Sail University. So our goal is to give them a chance to learn everything behind the scenes in front of the camera and to do it at a professional level. And we're just excited to be partnering with you to give our students, who are very talented, they're in various areas of development within the program, but all of them, some of the top students we've had that are going to get a chance to work and make this a really exciting product for everybody.
If you could tell me a little bit about how do the students come to the school in the first place? How do you go about marketing to them, or what are they looking to gain from this experience?
Yeah, so we're the only school in the country that has a sportscasting specific degree. So it's often a lot of people who obviously want to get into sports. We do have many graduates who've gone on to do other things, whether it be news, whether it be working for big companies, that take the skills that they've learned here to do it. But they come here with an opportunity to be under as real world pressure that they can. We have tight deadlines. We have situations where we throw all kinds of things at them that can happen in real life, whether it's your teleprompter going down or your equipment not working. We try to give them that type of experience. So they come to us because they want to be great broadcasters and they want to learn from the best. We've got a faculty with over 300 years of combined experience from the time that they've been in the business, and a lot of them still work in the business. And then obviously we have Dan Patrick, our head honcho, one of the greatest sportscasters of all time. We're going to say he's number one, right? He's the best out there. So Dan Patrick comes here, he meets with the students, he critiques their work, and what he really wanted when he created this program was a place where people could graduate and already know everything they need to do to have success from day one. And so that's why he started this, and now we're continuing to build on that. And we have tons and tons and tons of graduates working successfully in the industry right now.
So these students have volunteered, and I know when you send out an email, you're not sure who's all going to be able to have the time to do this. What are some of your expectations for the students, and just outline for me what you hope that they're going to be able to accomplish with this?
Well, number one, we want them to be professional. So we want them to come into this thinking, hey, this is a real job, and it is, and it's an opportunity for them to showcase all the talents they had here. So number one, be professional. Number two is for them to experience this in conditions that are really fast-paced, so that they can show what they can do in a real environment that's not simulated in any way. This is actually doing the job. So what we expect for them is to take all the skills that they've learned throughout their time in our program, whether it be broadcast writing style, whether it be vocal training, interviewing skills, shooting and editing, and take it to the highest level and give all the viewers everything that they could hope for and more than anything, tell good stories about the people involved in rugby throughout the Sunshine State here.
And I'm guessing, I'm going to assume here that most of them didn't probably have a deep knowledge of the game of rugby, and so taking the skills that they've learned here and then exploring and learning a little bit about rugby and bringing those two together are going to be entertaining for the parents, the athletes that are participating, and just a great all-around education for the students participating.
Yeah, and a lot of the students have gone through that process before with sports that maybe they didn't know as much about to start. A lot of our students do play-by-play at Rollins College, and some of them maybe didn't know a lot about volleyball or lacrosse when they started, but just like any other sport, if you were going to go call Olympics and you were going to call bobsledding and you didn't know a lot about it, how do you solve that? You do the research, you put in the work, you watch the videos. They have been working extensively since they found out about this opportunity to learn as much as possible about the sport, to learn from experts, to be in a position to work with people like you and other people who understand the concepts of what makes rugby a great sport. And in addition to the X's and O's side of it, as you said, to create great stories that can really hit home for anybody watching the product.
So I would say to all the parents out there, please watch the show and give us your feedback. We'd love to hear what you want to see on this show. We'll be with you for the next 7 weeks. We expect to air our show on Wednesday evenings, and so stay tuned. This will be our first show airing this coming Wednesday evening. With Quick Cut having a show on YouTube every week, we wanted to make sure that we had a host. And so when I reached out to the department chair of the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, he asked for 8 volunteers, and one of those volunteers is the furthest along in the school, who's got probably the most experience and professionalism built already into that experience. So we've asked Jackson Faulkner, who's joining me today, to give us a little background behind his story and how he came to the school and his what he likes about sports and what he's hoping to learn about rugby and what he hopes to bring to you at home through this weekly program. Go ahead, Jackson.
Well, thank you, Todd, again for this opportunity. It's really, I hope it's going to be an incredible experience. I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it, that's for sure. But generally, the goal of this show is going to be for you at home to get a better understanding of what the sport of rugby is all about. I, to be honest, don't have all the answers of what rugby is all about. I've just figured out, well, I've known rugby, what it was, but I've never really been looked too much into it. But getting this opportunity, when I heard from you, and I think it was like November of last year, I jumped on the opportunity, signed up for it as quick as I could, because I knew that this was the kind of thing where you mentioned it was kind of putting rugby on the map for Central Florida and for really the nation in general, because these aren't, apparently this isn't an NCAA recognized sport, it's just a club. So these guys, they're putting up money to be able to play this sport that they love, and they've come from all over the country to do it. I love sports. I love everything about competition. That's the reason why I'm here in the first place. 17 out of 20 months done. It's a 20-month program, so it goes by fast. And this will be a kind of an opportunity where I'll get to really understand the camaraderie behind rugby and why it's so successful in that regard.
So as we put this show together, and you brought up that camaraderie, I've been told by several rugby players, coaches, that that camaraderie that's built with playing the game is second to none. I had a chance to play football while I was in college, and I know that that's a level of camaraderie that's there at a team sport, none other, but then I hear that rugby is even a level higher than that. And so I'm hoping you can explore that during the next 7 weeks and show us, explain to us how that's built. Tell me a little bit more about what you want to do for that 20 to 30 minutes of a show each week, besides just that area of camaraderie.
Well, first of all, we're going to have 7 beat reporters who are all students here that are all incredibly talented, and I have no doubt that they're going to put together incredible content that are going to be a part of this show each and every week. But not only that, we're going to interview coaches, we're going to highlight players who have great weeks, or just players who have great stories, because as you mentioned, people come from all over, outside of this country, outside of Central Florida, to come here to not only just play a sport, they're not getting paid to do this, they are paying to do this. They're here because they love this sport and they want to build connections with these people. And these coaches, they're all doing the same thing. This is not a full-time gig for these guys. They're here because they love it. And I want to know why. I want to know how this camaraderie is built, and I want to tell you guys all about that and why it's so special.
Being a club and being rugby, you know that it's very different. You probably don't practice twice a day or even 3-4 times a week. And so you've got a limited amount of practice, and it'll be interesting to hear what their physical shape needs to be in order to compete. It's a challenging sport Yeah, I see these guys coming off of the sideline just huffing and puffing, so you've got to be in shape to play. You can't just pick up the game and go out there and play without doing some kind of training. And so it'll be interesting to see how you bring that out. And those storylines of coaching, of just as an athlete, and then traveling throughout the state. We've got 7 universities that are competing at this division, and I'm anxious to see what the reporters are going to bring together each week, and we're interested in bringing this to your homes every week. If you've got feedback for any of us here putting this show together, we'd love to be able to hear that from you and then implement that into the show throughout the season.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest here with us today. We have the Florida Collegiate Conference Commissioner of the Florida Rugby Union, Kirk Swanner. Kirk, how you doing today?
Great, Jackson. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. And I just want to know your position. You're a very important man for the Florida Rugby Union. What are some of the responsibilities of your position as commissioner?
Yeah, right. So for the commissioner, I mostly deal with the 7 Division I college clubs we have. And so the major thing there is just keeping all the, it's a bunch of herding cats. So just keeping all the guys in line. So like I said, there's 7 clubs. I deal with the schedule. And then I also deal with the affiliations, the national kind of affiliations and that type of stuff. So the collegiate landscape is always changing. It's never easy to understand. And I just try to make sure that I'm there to help navigate through the constant change so that we're constantly in a place where we can leverage our position in Florida, because there's a lot of benefits that we have in Florida that we just need to leverage and take full advantage of.
Awesome. It sounds like you've got a lot on your plate on a daily basis. So why did you take this job?
That is a great question, Jackson. And I've never hidden the fact from the guys. Like, I used to play at Florida State, and I then coached at Florida State. I have been involved in administration in Florida since like 2006. So it's been going on for, I don't know, 16 plus years now. So yeah, I did this as a way to take care of Florida State so that there's an environment that they want to be in. So in those 16 years, there was times where the environment in Florida was not that welcoming to like the northern clubs. So that's kind of my interpretation of it. So I wanted to create an environment where, Florida State wanted to be in. I also think that rising tide lifts all boats. So, I want to create conditions so that the college game, so that all the college clubs can grow. I want to see every one of the 7 programs have 50 plus members on their roster, which I do think is attainable. So that's why I took on the commissioner.
You mentioned your time at Florida State, you being a player and then a coach. What is it like to coach a rugby team?
Oh, it's the greatest. It is the absolute greatest. Coaching college kids is so much fun. I've since coached high school, and I've tried a little bit in the adult league as well. And the college is by far the best. Like, it's the most captive audience. The guys are physically capable of, doing high level athletic skills. They're also mentally strong enough to understand complex systems. So the majority of the kids that play rugby in Florida in the college ranks are picking it up for the first time in college. So the product that we put on the field conference wide is really good. So we have a lot of good coaches and stuff, but man, coaching college is so much fun. The amount of travel and stuff you get to do. It's great. The camaraderie amongst the kids is great. You create a good environment where friendly competition internally. And then that just helps. It's just great to see those guys take that on and then like push that forward, So, when I was coaching, I always wanted to create conditions where the guys were empowered to make their own decisions. And then they also then wanted to make sure that they left the club better than they found it. So they were constantly teaching the youth and helping the club. So anytime we had, an injury or something like that, we were constantly able to just have the next man up and reload and go. Yeah.
One of the things that really drew me to this sport in general is the camaraderie that I keep hearing about between the teams inside of your organization. How do you build that type of bond with your guys as a team?
Oh, yeah. You need to know what you're talking about a bit, right? Like, how do you build camaraderie amongst the team? I mean, people are always looking for places to like make friends, so like people are always looking for something bigger than themselves. So create an environment where it's easy to compete and to be a part of something bigger than yourself, and people will naturally be drawn to it. So yeah, the camaraderie within the clubs, that's not really that tough. And even the camaraderie amongst the clubs, so it's great to see the clubs when they do hang out afterwards, because it's a competitive game, it's a contact game, and then when you're playing, you know, as long as you keep it legal, it's all good. But then after that, it's without the opposition, there is no game. We all love the game, we all want to play it, and so you need to respect the opposition, and that means chatting with them up afterwards. Like they're human beings just like the rest of us. So it's great to see the clubs when they interact amongst the other guys. It was great when we took the all-star team, the representative team a couple years back over to New Orleans, and to see the guys that were rivals then become like good mates. And when I hear stories now about when they see each other at tournaments and sevens tournaments as adult players now, it's pretty cool to hear.
Well, Kirk, I know you're a busy man. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I thank you for being with us here on the show. My name is Jackson Faulkner, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks a lot, Jackson. Appreciate it.